Right, that's better. Right, thank you very much, Paul, and thank you all for coming and for inviting me to talk to you this lunchtime as well. Don't worry, I can be loud, so the odd rustle isn't going to be a big problem, but it's great to be over here. I'm actually here running an event in Bristol tonight, so it's really good to be able to tie in a couple of different things, come and give a talk, and then go off to run our event this evening. So I'm going to talk to you, we're going to split this session into two. I'll probably talk for about half the session, and then I'll open it up to questions, because really I want you to be able to interact with everything that I'm saying. So don't worry, I'm saying welcome to Datacove here. I'm not here to pitch to you and try and get you to buy anything from me today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do at Datacove, the story behind it, but then also talk about the different paths that our analysts and data scientists have had from when they were studying to where they are today as a data scientist. And I'll talk a little bit about recruitment and interview prep and anything you can do to make yourselves more desirable to data and analytics companies, or to anybody in particular. So I suppose I should start at the beginning. Today's actually a really special day. It's a special day to be here. Why is it a special day? Remember the 5th of November. Not because of fireworks, but 5 years ago today, on the 5th of November, I registered my business at Companies House. So my business is 5 years old today. Thank you. And I myself can't really believe where it's got to in that short space of time. Initially it was, I'll just do a bit of freelance work for somebody, and then I got quite a bit of work in, and I was tearing my hair out, as you can probably tell from the state of my head as well. I thought, well, maybe I need some help. And then more work came in, so maybe I need some more help. And today we're a team of 7 people strong, and I'm going to talk to you about those 7 people, myself included. So, this is where I always have problems with clickers. We need to hold it in a certain...
Have you plugged in the... Have you got a dongle?
It's a weird one, this one, isn't it?
Because you have to plug it into here.
You have to plug it in. I can use... in here, isn't there? It's very unusual.
Not on your laptop.
No, it's not on my laptop. It's this is an unusual thing, isn't it? It might not work. I can do it this way. Do it this way. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with a question. Who thinks that data science and data analytics is about analysing data? Hand up, hand up. I think it's about analysing data.
50%.
50%, it's about 50% of the room. It's not. It's not about analysing data at all, actually. And there have been times when I've walked into an office and I've walked into a room, and somebody brings up a spreadsheet, or they bring up hopefully a table of data in R or Python, and they say, here's the data, what can you do with it? And it's completely the wrong approach. It's the wrong question to ask. It's not about what you can do with the data. Because I could spend 3 months, 6 months, even a year analysing that table of data or that database, and I could tell them all sorts of things they know already. So analysing a bit of data to get some analysis to find out what that data is all about is wrong. It's completely wrong. Actually, well, rather than telling you, what do we think data and analytics is all about? Any ideas? Any suggestions?
Communicating with stakeholders.
It's a brilliant starting point. Communication. Communication's great. I'll talk a little bit about communication. We'll see what else people want to throw into the mix. Communicating information to people, and remember, people that probably don't understand maths, numbers, algorithms, machine learning, support vectors, they don't care about all of that. What they want to know is, I've got £1,000 in my pocket, I want to make sure that £1,000 turns into 2,000. What can you tell me about my information? What could you tell me about my customers? About where I'm spending money at the moment, and I could save some of that money and spend it somewhere else. So communication's a really important one. Anything else? Any other suggestions on what it's all about?
How can we make the using the current data which we already have, how can we make a better decision for the future, decisions like that?
Yeah, so it's like actionable insight.
Yeah.
Not just creating insight. So, I could create some insight. Here's some insight. This water bottle is blue. Is that useful? Is it useful to tell people that this water bottle is blue? What can we do with that? But if I tell people, blue water bottles sell twice as fast as red water bottles, then they're going to go and make more blue water bottles. So it's about creating insight that generates action. And all of that boils down to what I like to call problem solving. So rather than starting that challenge with, here's the data, what can you do with it? Let's have a challenge. Let's have a hypothesis. Because everybody, be you a business, be you a charity, whatever it is you're doing, and you're using data to solve, you have a challenge. And you have something that's probably keeping you up at night. Or that the company owners and the board of directors are talking about every single time they get together. And that challenge is often quite simple. Common challenges are, we want more customers, which is also the wrong challenge, by the way, because you want good customers, not more customers. Or, we're spending too much money. How can we reduce what we're spending? Or we're spending all this money and we don't know if it's actually working. These are very common business challenges. And all of them can be solved with data and analytics. And this is what we do. So we help companies at every stage of their data-driven journey. There's a wonderful picture. This is my back garden at home with some of the team earlier on this year. Why are we all dressed up standing in my back garden? That's a very good question. This was shortly after we won Business of the Year in our local region. So in our 5th year, named Business of the Year for the solutions that we've been providing to the community, to our clients, but also the work that we do in the community with events like Bristol Art Tonight and running Brighton Art and other art communities across the UK. And what we want to do is very simple. We want to make people self-sufficient. We want to save them time and money. We want to solve their biggest business challenges. That's what data and analytics and data science is all about. I'm going to put the clicker down so I remember it doesn't work. So a little bit about me. I have introduced myself a bit. I am the founder and director. So it was me sitting on my sofa at home 5 years ago today, getting registered on Companies House, writing a plan of what's it all about. But I had a history before that, and actually some of my history is really useful for career journeys as well. So I started off a long time ago. There are some years on here. I don't like to talk about the years and how long I've been doing this for. But a long time ago, anyone in the room like cricket? Have we got any cricket fans in the room? Yeah, one. Oh, God. Well, there you go. Cricket does pay off. Gets you into where you want to be. I used to do a lot of work with Middlesex, my favourite cricket team, worst cricket team in the country as well, arguably. Very, very poor. So I used to do a bit of work with them, running fan sites, also running like cricket networking events for cricket fans to meet and chat and have a drink in the winter. And I met somebody there who worked for a think tank in the City of London, CN, this logo that you can see here. And we got chatting about cricket, and he runs a think tank. They do a lot of stuff with machine learning. Remember back in 2005, no one knew what machine learning was. And I finished my degree, and he said, look, do you want to come in for 6 weeks in the summer, do a summer job, see how it all goes, got a bit of data that we need to work on, and see if you like it. It looks like I liked it quite a lot, because it was a bit longer than 6 weeks. I was there for 9 years. And then I kind of took a step back and thought, what's it all about? I'm analysing data, I'm solving problems, and I started researching what different paths within data, what could I do next? And the one that really interested me was marketing, hence all of these different marketing agencies. I'll talk about them in a second. Marketing's really interesting. There's so much information. If you think about marketing, we are exposed to ads every single day. No matter where you are, on your phone, you could be surfing something, all of a sudden an ad pops up. And you go and get on your bus and you see a few ads on the bus, or you see them at the train station, you get home, you put the TV on, there's an ad break. We're exposed to ads all the time. And within these ads, there's a lot of planning that takes place to be able to put an ad on our screen, on the bus, wherever it is that we see it. But all of that is informed by data and by information. The thing with that is that marketers themselves aren't very data savvy. They aren't very data organised. And so there was a lot within marketing data in different pockets of that, preparing campaigns, analysing campaigns, assessing where you should put your best budgets and all that kind of stuff. And I thought this is quite interesting, something that I want to do. And I went to work for this agency, MEC. Now, they no longer exist. They're now called Wavemaker. They're part of Group M, one of the biggest marketing agencies in the country and in the world, actually. And I went in and I worked for them for about 3 years. And the remit there was, we're spending a lot of time in Excel. We're sorting and reporting information, but we're not actually analysing it. We're not doing anything with this information. We've got all this data, and actually all we're doing is playing around in spreadsheets. And so I came in, there was one client that they spent 3 days a week building a spreadsheet report for this client. By the time I left, it took 2 hours a week to do, and it was all automated in R. And most of that 2 hours was just checking that the numbers were right, checking that all of the information had been provided. And so on. And we did that for other clients as well. And then I moved on. I moved on to MC&C. Now, they also no longer exist. You're probably seeing a pattern here. I don't think it's anything to do with me. Funnily enough, both MEC and MC&C rebranded shortly after I left, which is a bit weird. And again, the remit was the same. We're doing a lot of sorting and reporting, spreadsheets. This is what marketers love, a spreadsheet. Everything's in a spreadsheet. And so I transformed that into an analytical team as well. And then I moved from London to Brighton and thought, yes, I can do the commute. It's nice and easy. It was 4 hours a day. My son was 1. It was miserable. I hated it. I couldn't do the commute. So I got a job in Brighton at an agency called Rocket Mill. They no longer exist as well. This is getting a little bit weird, isn't it? They rebranded a long time after I left, so I don't feel too guilty about that one. They've been bought by a bigger outfit. But this was their first foray into data science. They were probably a little bit more automated than MEC and MC&C at the start, but that remit was the same. Lots of reports, still report. And nobody often reads them in marketing, so what can we do to be a bit smarter? And getting that 4 hours a day back, and COVID allowed me to actually think, you know what, I could do my own thing. But what led me to that was, I always wanted to do it. I always want, one day I know I can do this for myself. But I can't do that from the start of my career, because how am I going to get work? I need to get the experience first. But also, if I'm building my own unit, where are the challenges coming from? Who are the people that have the challenges? So working for various different agencies for 10 to 15 years, I built up my little, black book of clients. And you leave a job and you keep in touch with your clients, and they become your friends. And then at the time I wanted to start my business, a couple of people got in touch with me and said, look, I need some help on this. Here's a challenge. I need this thing to be solved. I thought, well, I could bring them into my new agency, or, that now or never moment during COVID, so much changing in the world, I could start a business. And that's exactly what I did. And bringing all of my experience into that, but also making sure that I'm working on challenges that excite me and that motivate me. There's lots of different challenges and different types of data problems you can work on. I think it's really important. A lot of people, when you hear business owners talk, it's all about growth. What's the biggest number I can tell you about my business? It's not. It's so much more important to be happy. And this is why when I was commuting to London, I thought, I can't do this. 16 hours of my week, not seeing my son who's 1 year old. I can't do it. I need to be, I really love working data, but happiness is more important than growth and big numbers and revenue, and as long as you're happy and content, that's the best advice I can give to anybody. And so we've grown it, and we've got people with various different paths. So Abby was going to be here today. She's jetted off to Mallorca and left me on my own. Unbelievable. Who approved that? I don't know. But when you're building a team, and for me, building a team, it's about bringing together a collective of individuals that actually you wouldn't ordinarily put in the same room. If I've got 7 people working in the business. If the other 6 people are exactly the same as me, we're not a great team. We don't all bring something to the table. And that was quite important to me. Can we bring people with different skill sets? Maybe you wouldn't ordinarily gel, and create something from here. And so Abby and Laura, who I'll talk about, have been with us for the longest. They've been here for about 3 of those 5 years. Abby's a psychology grad from Sussex, so she studied psychology. And I see this theme in psychology students where actually they go in thinking, you know, it's all about behaviours and the mindset. But then they start to do statistical testing, usually in R. Some universities do it in Python. And so actually, this is quite interesting. And, you know, I'm not mathematical, but actually I kind of love that. It's kind of quite fun. And we've worked very closely with a psychology school at Sussex. So I'm Brighton-based, and we've worked very closely with the school at Sussex. And we have 2 or 3 interns from the psychology school every summer come and work with us, the ones that really love the data and the algorithms and the analytics. And they can see what it's like working in the real world with data. And, you know, Abby came in as a grad. She's worked her way up to data scientist and, you know, is one of our core client advisors working across multiple different clients. I'll talk about some of the brands we work with in a second, and multiple different projects. And not just statistical modelling. It's so much more than statistical modelling. Building applications, being able to help people save time. That's not a model, that's just writing a bit of code that automates the process. And then you've got Laura, and Laura's background is very different. She was a maths teacher for 15 years before she joined our business. And love of numbers, really good at explaining things to people that might ordinarily struggle to get them. You know, if you're thinking about teaching kids in a school, it's the first time they've heard of something. You need to digest it in very small, simple, easy to understand ways. Laura's brilliant at that. And when we were hiring for a new data scientist, so we had a few people come in and see us, very traditional, you know, I've got 2 or 3 years experience in data science. We had Laura, she'd never been a data scientist before, but she'd been teaching maths for 15 years. We give everyone a little challenge, which is not, you know, what function in R does this, it's here's a bit of data, come and present back to us in 5 slides some key insights. Her presentation was by far the best I've ever seen at explaining what was in the data, generating that actionable insight. And that, for me, it's adding something a little bit different to the team. Somebody that can really stand out in front of the clients and give them so much confidence in their information. Funnily enough, she leads and runs a lot of our training programs now because it's what she's really good at. But the feedback whenever you're on a call is, you've made data as easily digestible as I've ever seen it from anybody. So it's about those different skill sets, not mathematicians. I'm the only real, like, proper mathematician. I was a maths teacher, but that's kind of also, I suppose, also mathsy. But we're not all maths, stats, data science kind of people. Charlie's an academic, and he's kind of 50-50. He's actually gone back to study, spends 50% of his time studying, 50% of his time working data. He also studied psychology. He did an internship with us a couple of years ago. He's come back to work with us while he's studying, but he understands both R and Python. There's not a lot of people that can do that out there. And he's really useful because although he's only part-time, he can just jump in on R and Python projects. And I should have said Abby codes in R, Laura codes in Python. We try not to talk to her too much because and then we've got a commercial team as well, so this is something that's grown out in the past couple of years. So we do a lot of events. Sophie runs all of our event programs. She doesn't get to go to the glamorous cities like Bristol, like I do, but she runs all the event programs, gets the speakers, makes sure everyone gets fed. So if you're coming tonight, you know, she'll make sure there's food and drink on the table. And Kieran, who looks after our commercial agreements and has joined recently. And again, their paths into tech are very different. Sophie's a graphic designer, but she's working in tech, organising events. Kieran's background is mainly in cybersecurity, but as he says, you know, when you're managing commercials for a company, it's all about making people see the benefit. It doesn't matter if it's cyber or if it's data. So let me talk a little bit about the work that we do, and then I'll also talk about ways of getting into data. Our clients are very varied, and I put a load of logos up on the screen, and you're probably looking at it thinking, oh, I don't recognise a lot of those. Zero Accounting are probably the biggest brand, so accounting software. Very good for business owners, small business owners in particular, so you might recognise them. Fletcher's Solicitors you might might not recognise, you might have heard of patient claim line. If you've ever had the misfortune of watching Judge Rinder in the afternoon. Sponsors of Judge Rinder, they've got in their boardroom, they've got a gavel that's signed by him as well. It's the biggest claim to fame. Lots of agencies in there as well. We've got this big thing where we're outsourced data team for various different marketing agencies, which is really good for them because, with my marketing background, gives them access to a few days of our time per month without building out their own full service teams. But that's great, there's loads of clients. What do we actually do for them? And I think the most important thing in business or in offering, and particularly when it comes to data and analytics, is simplicity. Don't stand in front of people, particularly technical people, and start, brandishing every single technical term you can think of. I built you a support vector machine learning model which segments your customers and has a mean square error of 45 and an R squared of 78. Who knows what that means apart from us? So simplicity is important. That's why when we talk about what we do, we talk about it in a very simple way. And these are the things that we can do with data. It's not, by all means, it's not everything. But the 3 things that we do are customer analytics. So this is understanding who your most valuable customers are and where you can find more of them. It goes back to that challenge I said at the beginning. It is not about I want more customers. Every brand says I want more customers. No brand wants more customers because you need to service the customers you've got really well first before you can start bringing more people on board. So customer analytics is all about, we take databases, we analyse them, we tell people who the highest value customers are, we might even segment them into different groups. Here's your most valuable group, here's your least valuable group. And then we can build next best action models. So what is every customer going to do next? What is every group going to do next? And with those models you can, okay, now we know what these people are going to do next, we can talk to them in that language. If we've got customers that haven't bought for 2 years, there's no point sending them an email saying, hey guys, look, come and buy our product. We need to re-engage them in the brand first. If we've got people that are spending money, every single week, then we might want to give them VIP treatment. You're one of our VIP customers. Why don't you get early access to our new product? So by segmenting databases and actually using data in a smart way, you can really understand and get to the bottom of that problem. And then it comes into marketing analytics. Marketing analytics is one of the most enjoyable things for me. So I kind of got into it when I started at agencies because there is so little knowledge in marketing. Think of all those TV ads, all the billboards, everything you see on your phone. People spend millions of pounds a year putting these ads out. And absolutely nobody knows which bits of that £1 million are working, which bits aren't. So you spend £1 million and you don't actually know if it's worth it. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. And all of these platforms, Google, Facebook, everybody, they've tried to build algorithms. But the problem is that Google's algorithm tells you, all that stuff you're doing on Facebook and X, and don't do any of that. It's rubbish, doesn't do anything. You need to spend all your money with Google. And then guess what Facebook does? Oh, that money you're spending on Google, and all that money you're spending on X, and all that money you might be spending on... Don't bother with any of that. I'll spend it on Facebook. And so, actually, you need to take a step back, because all of these are very much, that sale is ours, that sale is ours. Within marketing, you can take a very simple regression-based approach. I think for talking to a room here, everyone's probably seen or built a regression model before. And this is what we call media mix modelling, or econometrics as it is on there. It's a word nobody can ever say. And what that tells you is, it's basically an equation. Here's all of my marketing spend, but also here's the things that are not marketing based. If you imagine a product, think about bread. When you go into the supermarket to buy bread, do you go down the bread aisle, oh, do you know what, I just saw the ad for Warburton's, I'm just going to pick that up right now. It doesn't happen like that. You buy it because you need it. So that model also reflects that not every sale that you make is because of marketing. People buy things because they need them. People stop buying things because they can't afford them anymore. Cost of living crisis, COVID. All of these things have an impact. It's not just your marketing. And so this regression-based approach puts all of those factors into a model and gives you a true picture. And that's one of our kind of biggest and also award-winning service lines. We won awards for the work that we did with Xero. And then the last bit is automation. And I think simply, I've explained it simply there, but to be even simpler, it is getting people out of spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are bad. Spreadsheets are good if you're an accountant, if you're working in finance, you want to add things up. They are not good for data and analytics, and they are certainly not good as databases. And we've worked with a lot of law firms. If you ever go and see a law firm try and send an email, it's like, well, I'm just going to get Jack's list over there, and then I'm going to get John's list, and I'm going to get Joan's list, I'm going to get my 15 lists, and oh God, they've all got the same clients, and I've got to take a few people off. That one's missing an email. And about 5 weeks later, you send an email out to all of your clients, and you probably still got it wrong. This is what we do. We build tools, we build systems, we build shiny dashboards that get people out of spreadsheets. We also do recruitment, so I thought this was an important slide to kind of bring up today. Because we do this outsourced data team theme for our clients, where we can be your data team for 4 days, 8 days, however many days that is a month, we thought, well, how do we keep this relationship going? What if we build up a brand to be big enough to need their own in-house team? I thought, well, you know what we can do? We can actually find the talent for them. We can place a version of ourselves within their business forever, constant reminder of what we do. But then when they need to go back to square one, so now we've got our team, but we're still missing 2-4 days of time a month, they can kind of go back to square one with us and start again, build that up again. So, you know, I know talking to a load of people that are studying, when you get to that point that, oh my God, you know, I now need to go out into the real world and find a job, we might be able to help. So, very happy, and there'll be a QR code at the end. Welcome to stay in touch. I've got business cards here. I've got a few stickers that I'll finish putting out afterwards as well. But I just want to talk for a couple of minutes about recruitment and CVs and interviews as well. Because I've interviewed a lot of people. In fact, I'm interviewing grads at the moment for one of our clients. And just a few common bits of advice, because it can be scary out there. You've just studied something for 3 years, 4 years, maybe even longer. And it's like, and now I've actually got to go and do something with it. I've got to get a job. And this is quite hard. I've got to go into interviews. And that word interview, it's quite daunting. But it isn't, and it shouldn't be. And best bit of advice, this is, you know, whether you're analytical grad, data science grad, or you're graduating something completely different, an interview isn't daunting. An interview is a conversation. And that is how you should be thinking about it. You're going in to have a conversation with the other people that are interviewing you. And it's equally important that you interview them as much as they interview you. Do you want to work with them? You know, you spend so much of your time at work. Can you see yourselves working with these people day in, day out? So prepare. Have a look at their brand. We live in a world now where people have got social media. I'm not saying go and find them on Facebook or anything like that, but LinkedIn, professional social media. Who are they? What are their key skills? What's their career paths? Is there anything that you can kind of find common ground on? Our commercial manager, he calls it form. You know, the F in form is the first thing you do when you meet somebody. Family. Let's try and connect over something that's not work related. Let's try and find that connection, that bond with them. And the best people I've interviewed are the ones that come in and say, you know, rather than you tell me about the role and the company, let me tell you what I know. Because I've looked at your website, I've looked at your socials, let me tell you what I know about you. Because then instantly it's like, well, they've actually done a little bit of their own homework. They've tried. They know a bit about us already. So seeing it as a conversation, and the best interviews I've had are where it's been conversational, are really important. From a CV perspective, when you're working in tech, if I've got 2 CVs in front of me, I've got one CV, it's not your CV, and somebody's put a GitHub profile on that CV with all the code they've written at university, and then I've got your CV next to that. You haven't got a GitHub profile. You've told me all these wonderful things that you do. But I will gravitate, and most hiring managers will gravitate to that GitHub page. The CV's great. It tells me everything that you've done. But the GitHub page, that's your work. That's your code. That's more important than your CV. And don't worry if, oh, but my code's basic, but my code's messy. everybody probably thinks that code in the real world is this utopia of commented lines and, wonderful functions that make everything simple and short. It never is. And why it never is because you're constantly changing and developing things. And you also think, I've got to get this done by tomorrow, so you do it really quickly. And it is messy, and it's not always commented all the way throughout. So don't worry about what your code looks like, because real world code looks like that as well. It's so much better to see somebody's thought process. So getting a GitHub page on your CV is really important. It kind of differentiates you from other people. And the other one is getting out there and networking. Now, networking is really important to me. Networking is, and again, this might sound scary and daunting at university, but networking is going out to events, to things like Bristol Are tonight, and meeting people. Why is it important for me as a business owner is because I meet people that could become clients. Why might it be important to somebody that's studying is recruitment is one of the biggest costs to a business in the modern world. If you're recruiting people, you might think, oh, it just costs the salary. No, it doesn't, because the amount of time you spend finding the right person, the amount of time you then spend interviewing them, and then you've got to do all the checks, and you have to go through about 15 people to find the right person. It's really expensive. People hire people. So if you're out at an event, you might meet somebody that knows someone that's hiring. You might even meet a potential employer at that event. They know you, so the time might not be right now, but in 3 months, in 6 months' time, a bit like with me on the cricket pitch, they'll get in touch with you and say, we've got something here, can we have a chat about it? Because that is so much easier for them to work with. It's a bit like customer analytics, work with a warm connection. So networking, GitHub pages, and I can't remember what the first thing I said was now, but something else. There you go. Right. And events. So these are places that you can go. You're in Bristol. So Bristol Are, which is on tonight, and we run them in other cities as well. So you can come and see us in any city. If you ever find yourself in Brighton on the beach, you can come and see us. And we run Earl as well, which is a big conference. I'm just going to talk for a couple more minutes about case studies. So I want to talk about some of the work that we've actually done, and then I'll open it to questions. So media mix modelling, I spoke about this before. Media mix modelling is an equation. It's an equation that tells you which bits of your marketing, which bits of the world are having an impact on your business indicators. In this case, we were working with Xero, and what they wanted to know was, how is our marketing helping us achieve sales of our product? And I won't go into the sales journey and the funnel, a lovely quote there from the brand manager at Xero as well. But they changed their marketing strategy a lot. And we use data and analytics, we use the media mix models, help them understand which bits of this are working. If we want to spend a bit more money on TV, can we do that? If we want to spend a bit more money on Facebook, can we do that? There are two big concepts in media mix modelling. There's this concept of diminishing returns. You might have come across this when you're studying. Everybody thinks, oh, this ad's working really well. Let's spend more, let's do more of it, more. Let's do 10 times as much. But actually, there's only an infinite number of people, there's only a finite number of people in the world. It's not an infinite number of people in the world. Finite number of people in the world. Once everybody that cares has seen your ad, that's it. You can spend another 10k on it. No one else is going to buy anything because the people that need to see it have seen it. So the model identifies that, and crucially, that pays for the model. So you say, oh, you spent 20k too much there. Take that out. Take that 20k out. Oh, brilliant. We paid for the model now. Let's do it again. But it also gives this concept of ad stock. Now, ad stock is a concept in advertising. Who here, everyone I assume has seen my good friend Alexander the Meerkat before? Love Alexander. Now imagine if Alexander the Meerkat disappeared from TV or radio or billboards tomorrow. Would you remember him next week? Next month? Maybe even next year? That's what's called ad stock. The more you advertise, you build up memory. You could come off advertising for an entire year and your brand is that strong. And so that's what it tells them as well. Is that actually you could have a break and nobody would even notice that you're off TV or your billboards have gone down. And so for Xero, we managed to reduce their TV spend by a significant amount. I can't tell you how much, just in case there's any QuickBooks or Sage spies in the room. but it improved their return on investment by 37%. So they're spending less, they're getting more for their money because they kind of know where they've cut out, and it kind of transformed the way they work. They started to actually, we could do a lot more digital media now to supplement that. And it's all about how channels work together. You know, if you see a billboard on your way home and then the TV ad comes up in the evening, it's like, great, I've already seen that on a billboard, so it really re-enhances that brand. That's another media mix case study, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about this one because apparently it's going to go public next year, but it's an app that we built for the government, and it's for local councils to make better decisions across 4 key areas. So you've got health, well-being, nature, and sustainability. And if you're a decision maker working in a council, all of this information is currently spread across 50 different platforms. And that's not really very useful. I need to make a decision. I've got to log in here, and about 5 days later make a decision. So we've brought all of this into one place in a shiny application. And it's really easy within R to connect to various data sources, to bring in some internal things via that good old spreadsheet, and just put them, visualize them in one space, so that you can say, I'm from Bristol Council, what do I have to do next? And it's a way of taking data, we're not doing much analysis, we're just visualizing it. Visualization is really important because not everybody can think numerically, not everybody can think in words. But if you see a graph that shows you this thing's going up and this thing's going down, that's a really simple way of conveying that information. So visualization, and particularly strong visualizations, the right chart, I could go on all day about the right chart, so I won't. The right chart for the visual really helps kind of cement that analysis and actionable insight. And I'll do one more case study, and this is automation. It's a marketing case study. It's one of the agencies that we've worked with for a while. And I remember when I came in, they said, we don't need automated reporting. It's all automated already. Don't worry about that. And I said, look, I'll tell you what. I won't charge you any money. I'm going to come in, I'm going to watch your analyst do the reporting. Won't be scary for them. I'm just going to sit behind them and watch them do it. And I watched them do it, and I watched them for about 4 hours, I think. So I'll copy this bit from the spreadsheet in here, and I can take this spreadsheet, and I go off and make a cup of tea, and I forgot where I was, and that number's wrong. So I said to the owners, look, it's not automated. You probably think it's automated, it's better than what you had before. But effectively, when somebody is doing a job, and it's the same job every week, you're following the same steps, write a bit of code. Write a bit of code to do that. So that's not data analysis, that's using a data analysis method to write a bit of code that makes your job easier. And I think the last thing I'm going to say here is, analysts are lazy. It's great to be lazy. Be lazy, right? If you can write a bit of code that does your job for you, that's what all the best analysts do. That's not getting a robot to do your work, that's just efficiency. You can then spend your time on something else. So I'm going to stop. I've got a few more case studies here, but I won't go through all of them. I'm going to bring this up. So this QR here, that will take you to all of our socials. I've got my business cards here as well, and I'll put some stickers out, and happy to connect on LinkedIn as well if anyone's on LinkedIn already, and stay in touch. And very, very happy to also help and to answer questions now. So I think we've got a bit of time. So thank you. And anybody got any questions?
Could you explain the media mix model a bit more? Because
yeah.
Is that just different data sources?
Yeah. So a media mix model it's a glorified regression model. That's a really hard thing in analysis because everything kind of starts with regression. But what it does is we will collect 2 to 3 years worth of weekly information. And when I say weekly information, it's what have you spent on each marketing channel each week and what has that delivered? The delivery bit is quite crucial because sometimes certain marketing channels are more expensive. So if you think about Christmas time, everyone puts the price up. Everything, not just marketing. So we want to know, how many, we call it impressions, the number of people that have seen the ad online. Or for TV, how many spots, which is that 30-second ad bit in an ad break, you've bought for that amount. So we'll have the volume, we'll have the spend, and we'll have that weekly. So it's a time series regression model. and we've got 2 to 3 years, so about 100 to 150 data points. And then for all of the non-marketing indicators, the things that affect sales that aren't from marketing, so for COVID, we used what was called the Google Mobility Index. Google collected every week what proportion of the city were out and about and active compared to what we would normally expect to see. So actually, at the beginning of lockdown, it was something like minus 80%, very, very low. And that allowed us to kind of gauge what the impact of COVID was. There's less people out and about, so actually we're going to see less of an impact here. We put in things like inflation, so that tells us about the cost of living. As inflation rises, do your sales drop? Because that tells you it's the kind of item that not everybody needs, so you've got to be a bit more creative during that time. Even with COVID, it can give you strategies of, if, God forbid, we ever had another pandemic and we were all locked down again, was your strategy right? In some of the models we built, what we saw was the strategy of that particular brand wasn't right. Their competitors did the right, they doubled their spend and got so many more sales through. You can, within marketing, put in your competitors' spend as well. It's not accurate, but there are platforms that tell you roughly how much everybody's spending on marketing. So if your competitor spends more, does that hurt you? And then we put in other things. There are other little one-off events. If I take Xero as a brand, for example, there's a massive amount of seasonality around March and April, the end of the financial year. People reviewing their software, people reviewing their plans. So they kind of know around that time it's really important. We've done another one for a gym brand. Massive amount of seasonality on the 26th of December to about the end of January, and then nobody cares. So putting all of these factors in, you then have an equation, and it comes out, and you can then say to somebody, well, when you spend on TV, you multiply that by 2 and you get the number of sales that you get. When you spend on Facebook, you multiply by 4, that tells you the number of sales that you get. And then we can build that again into a shiny dashboard so that people can play with that. It's like, actually, what if I increase my Facebook spend by 20% and decrease my TV spend by 20%? What's the overall impact to sales? And then that helps them plan and set future budgets, because you have to do it far in advance to get the best prices. So that is I have far more detail on MMM, which is for another day, but any other questions on anything?
So what kind of tools are you using for your dashboard or any other things as well? I understand that you said already Python and all those things, but you said dashboard and I'm interested in it.
It's a really interesting one. So I always say we're tool agnostic, and I think there are tools that we don't use that we could use. The most important thing is, if you've got the brain that can understand how to put a dashboard together, I don't think it matters what tool you use. At the moment, we use a lot of R, a lot of Python, and a lot of Shiny, but we do build dashboards in tools like Power BI as well. I kind of think that people have stopped calling it a dashboard and started calling it Power BI because it's become so universal. Maybe that's really good marketing by Microsoft. Maybe it's because Power BI feels familiar like Excel. I don't know. But there's no reason that we couldn't build a dashboard in Tableau or in ClickSense or Looker, because we've got those skills and we can understand it. Most clients, they don't come to us with a brief and say, look, I need you to find me more customers and you must write some Python code to do it. They don't really care about that bit in the middle. It's like they want more customers. If we write Python code, if we write R code, if we open a spreadsheet and tell them that it's actually glaring them in the face, they don't really mind what it is as long as we give them the insight and the answer. I think in Datacove's history, only once in 5 years has somebody told me what tool we had to use.
Is it easy to get Shiny to authenticate against like Microsoft LDAP kind of thing?
Relatively easy. I think the harder thing with Shiny authentication is some of the APIs that you're using. So APIs are a bit of a minefield. For those of you that haven't worked with APIs, effectively if you think about a platform that has information in, so let's take one of your social media platforms like Facebook. Facebook hold all of your information in, you see it in the beautiful front end format with lots of pictures and graphics and likes and hearts and everything like that. but actually it's just a table that sits at the back of that, and an API allows you to connect to that table. They can be difficult to get configured, but one of the good things about Shiny is, particularly within R, less so within Python, a lot of people have written code that has allowed them to connect with that data beforehand. There's really good packages to connect with a lot of Google APIs, a lot of Facebook APIs, a lot of like open source government APIs as well. There's a lot of open source data that the government share, healthcare stats, nature statistics. There's so much out there that you can just, you can connect to in an R package, and the hard work's done for you. But yeah, authentication kind of depends on what you're doing. The less mainstream it is, the harder it gets. There are a few more questions. I saw some hands up.
You were talking about before, you mentioned what F was about making connections to bombings, but what were the other letters in the acronym for?
Oh, good grief. Kieran's going to kill me. He's not watching, is he?
Well, just talk through it.
Yeah, so I think... I can't remember what the O is now. This is terrible. Don't tell him I said that if you ever meet him. The R is relationship. So, it's funny. We were on a call with somebody a week ago, and this person, from the moment we got on a call with them, they were trying to sell to us straight away. Same with networking. Even if you're networking, selling yourself to a potential employer, don't go into an interview and say, I am the best person at doing this, you must hire me now. You build up a relationship. So what he always says is that the F bit, which is family, is can you make a connection on, something human with this person? And so an example, we were at a business show a few weeks ago, somebody came up to our stand, and Kieran, who's got this form model, and the person that came up to our stand, he sort of said, where have you come from today? Croydon. It's like, I used to live in Croydon. Whereabouts? And you start to build a relationship. It's not about work. It's not about selling. So the first thing to do is understand that person as a human. Then you build the relationship. And then I think the M is manage. It's in my notebook. It's in there, actually. I've just realised. But the idea is that you will, and this is why we do a lot of networking, you will do much better in life, be it in getting a job, be it in business, if you actually understand people as a human first. It goes back to that whole thing I said with recruitment. People buy people. There are other data and analytics companies out there, but they will buy us because we're people, we're human, and they like us and they trust us and they want to work with us. So it's all about, don't go in and start selling to somebody straight away. These people we were on a call with last week, we're not going to buy anything from them because they were so hard in the way they were selling, to the point they were telling us everything we were doing is wrong. And it's just like, well, okay. If you want to tell me that everything I'm doing in business is wrong, and I've grown this year and taken new people on, and we've made more money this year than any other previous year, but if you're telling me that I'm doing it the wrong way, then that's fine. But it's not the way of building a relationship. There was a question over here.
In terms of accessing the client's data, I was wondering how you access the data. Is it just because you have so many clients?
Yeah. Data access it will depend from one brand to another. Some brands are obviously a lot more protective of their data. Everybody should be. So I don't want to call out some brands here who have given us easier access to data, but typically when it's financial services or insurance companies, there are a lot more loopholes to jump over. For a lot of our clients, we have separate servers, so they don't send us data. Never send somebody a spreadsheet of data. Please, never do this. This is a very bad idea. I worked on a pitch years ago, not mentioning the brand. I got sent an email of their customer data, and it had everybody's credit card numbers in there. That went from my inbox straight away, but my CEO at the time was like, we could do some really impressive analysis with that from the pitch. Could you just ignore that column? I was like, I didn't hear you say that. I've just got rid of it. But so we will access their server directly, and everything stays within their house, within their server. Others, they will send us information. To be quite honest, and a big way of getting around GDPR. I don't need the personally identifiable information, so I always tell them remove it. I don't really care about their name or their email address or where they live. I probably care about the postcode because I could do some geospatial analysis with that. But the rest of it, take it out, because it has no analytical quality to me. If I tell somebody that your best customer is called Jack, it's like, oh yeah, let's go and find some Jacks, brilliant. It doesn't mean anything, so take all of that out. But yeah, it is different. There are some brands that aren't very protective of their data that should be. And then there are others. Charities are probably more protective than you think. You know, charities always want help. They want people to assess what's going on. They probably have the most complex data sharing and data protection agreements I've ever seen. So it's not always what you expect it to be.
And one more quick question.
Yeah.
What is the logic behind the name of your company, the logo?
That's great. So the logic and the logo. When I started my company, so this is a conversation I had just about 5 years ago, and my wife said, I think you should call it Horn Analytics. That sounds like an 80s law firm, and I don't really fancy that. So I did what every sensible person would do and go onto a random name maker online, and I put in things that are important to me: data, analysis, science, all the key terms. But then also, what is very important to me, this wave here. This wave actually represents Brighton Beach. I'm not from Brighton. I only moved there 8 years ago. It's my favourite city in the UK. Bristol is my second favourite city, by the way. I love it. I love coming to Bristol, and I wanted something that represented Brighton or the beach. Brighton data was a bit boring. So you've got data, and then you've got Cove. Cove represents the beach. And it is all one word. It is a lowercase c. It's exactly as it's written there. I get 2 words. I get uppercase C's. I get everything, which is always interesting. It's like people spelling your name wrong, isn't it? But it was all about kind of Brighton and Brighton Beach. And the logo, has anyone here ever been to Brighton before? What's anyone recognise one?
Pier.
It's not the pier, actually.
It's a very expensive beach hut.
It is a very, yeah. I mean, those things, I know someone had one, they cost like 10 or 20 grand for a little bit of wood on the seafront so that you can keep your tables and chairs and your food and drink in there and sit outside in the summer. But
Yeah.
it was the beach hut. And funnily enough, the guy that designed the logo, before he designed that, he'd never been to Brighton before. And I said, got my initial logo that I decided, you won't be able to see it from here, come and have a look at it at the end. It was a stock image, it's terrible. This was just me making sure that I had some kind of logo when I registered at company's house. And I brought him to Brighton and said, oh, that's what you're trying to do. And he gave me that, which was a much better depiction of what it's all about. And the beach huts are good, because we can go back. We didn't do it with our offering here, but we do a lot of things in threes. Where's this slide? So, these 3 beach huts here, we use them for meaning and definition. And any more questions? And we've got like 1 or 2 minutes left. So last question, maybe.
Yeah, there might be a class in here, so we might have to clear out.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. I've got a few hex stickers here. I've got cards. Connect on LinkedIn. But thank you for your time. Appreciate you being here at lunchtime.
A round of applause, please, for Jeremy. Very fascinating talk. Is anyone planning to go to the R meetup tonight? Hands up.
Oh my lord.
Okay, so what we'll do maybe is for the 5 o'clock talk, which I hope you're going to come to as well, we'll see if we can finish about 10 minutes early for that. And I looked at the bus timetable for M1. There's one at like 1 minute past 6. So I think if we go for that, then we'll be able to get to the talk in time for that. So we'll just have to make sure we start on time at 5 o'clock. If anyone ordered lunch and hasn't got it yet, please pick it up here. If you want lunch and you didn't order it, wait around. There might be 1 or 2 left. But let the people who booked go first, please. I don't know. It might be all right. Oh yeah, a couple of stickers there if you want.
Yeah, there's always stickers. Stickers are big in this world.
Thank you.
Bye.